We're live. We're live. This is the Impromptu BS Busters podcast. It's literally called the What the Hell, Let's Have a cast because, I mean, a lot of viewers are used to getting some type of content from gamers such as myself or Dr. Feelgood on a Sunday, Quan Manchu. And since they aren't doing something, I decided, what the hell, metalhead and myself.
Mr. Red Fox? Hello? Red Fox?
Damn, Google.
Google,
Yet again. It's doing this yet again. But anyway, we decided basically that we were going to brave the mountains and do a impromptu cast. So here we go with an impromptu cast. So let's get it started.
Okay, so do you want to start first or I start first?
You start first, since you're the one who kind of started this with saying, "Hey, let's do a cast."
Well, I did not expect it to be like now, like right now. But okay. Well, I am a bit nervous to say this, but look. I think the Switch was Nintendo's master plan all along. Since the very beginning. Well, after the Wii, that is. Because I remember reading John Lucas's Unity post, and he pretty much gave you a good idea of what was going on in the industry. I mean, sure, certain things that he wrote did not happen. Like certain things that he predicted did not happen, but other things still hold up even today. I mean, there are still things that he wrote back then that turned out to be true even today. And my theory is that the Switch is like the true nuclear weapon of Nintendo. Because here's the thing: Sony and Microsoft have built a reputation where they always must have the most powerful consoles possible. Nintendo made it very clear that they don't give a shit about being the most powerful. What they want to do is to be the most efficient and as compact as possible. So, and also history has showed us that Microsoft and Sony, no matter if Nintendo is successful or not, will always copy Nintendo. So, look, everyone, this is just my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong, but my theory is that I think the PlayStation 5, if it does come out, will be a Switch clone. Let me elaborate on this. Here's the problem, though. Sony have built themselves, and Microsoft too. I mean, Microsoft too will come out with a Switch clone if that turns out to be. But Sony and Microsoft have built a reputation to be as powerful as possible. But here's the thing. Is it really possible to create similar hardware to the Switch and have more power than the PS4 Pro or the Xbox Scorpio? Is it really possible?
Not for right now. I mean, not for the next maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And have it be affordable. You'd be getting a tablet that would basically cost you like $600, $700, $800, and it still wouldn't be doing what the Switch is doing.
And here's another thing: if they don't follow what Nintendo does, I mean, they're gonna become outdated and stagnant. Because in technology, stationary devices are on the decline. Tablets are for personal uses, not professional, but personal uses for the average Joe, are slowly becoming more prominent.
Yeah, more portable stuff.
Yeah,
like smartphones and handheld, like dedicated handheld stuff like that.
Exactly. And here's the thing: if Sony and Microsoft stay on the path that they've taken now, if they keep releasing more powerful stationary consoles all the time with a regular controller, quote unquote, they'll become stagnant eventually. But if they follow the Switch, if they try to create their own versions of the Nintendo Switch, they're going to be caught off guard because they're going to have to optimize their technology, their games, and it's going to cost a lot of money to produce the hardware, to optimize, and let's not like because of how difficult it would be for them to do that, because they're not used to this. Nintendo are used to optimization. They always do it, but Microsoft and Sony, they don't
Not so
optimize
much.
that much.
Yeah.
But if they were to try right now to be the equivalent of the Switch, they run into a lot of troubles like overheat and like for example, their hardware, they would melt, and that's a big problem there. And it would cost a lot of money to produce, and they'd be expensive overall. So well, that's as far as I go right now. But how about you, Red Fox? What's your theory? Red Fox?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Okay, yeah.
Google just kicked me out of my own podcast.
Tabarnak.
Damn you, Google.
And the third parties would be affected by this too, because have you noticed how on the PS4 and Xbox One, their games take a huge amount of gigabytes on the internal memory? Red Fox?
Yeah, that is true.
And also, like, they'd be forced to optimize their shit, and because they're not used to this, it's gonna cost them a lot of money.
But would they do that? I mean, would they actually go out of their way to actually optimize? Because I mean, by and large, we can say that like no one optimizes anymore. Right, in terms of third party, like the only people who kind of sort of optimize their games for systems is maybe you could say Rockstar with their GTA games. Like that's the only real third party I know that really optimizes their games for whatever hardware. When I say optimize, I don't mean like uses the special. I mean like their games more or less aren't buggy, broken pieces of garbage. Like, I mean, as someone who played GTA San Andreas for a long time, left the game on for hours and then would come back. I'm not saying they didn't have bugs, but they weren't game breaking. Like you would just go and save and it would reset everything and then you could keep on playing. It wasn't like, oh my God, it's broken.
But what I say is, if Sony and Microsoft choose to follow Nintendo's lead, they won't have a choice but to do that. And that's going to be very hard for them because all these years, gradually, they've been less and less efficient when it comes to optimization. It's beginning worse and worse each year.
Well, I think part of that is because a lot of these games are, what's the word I'm looking for? They're console, they're PC ports. Like, and it's built to be basically like the developer makes it with their PC, with the developer PC, and then it's ported down to the consoles. And so it has to be it can't be optimized, because if they optimized it for PC, it wouldn't run on a console, or it would run, but it would be poorly. I mean, that's what happened to Project Cars.
Project Cars.
Yeah, Project Cars came out, and it runs best on a high-end PC.
Wait, was it that Ubisoft game?
No. Project Cars is that game that this weird studio, I think they're called Slightly Mad. Not Slightly Mad. I forgot the name of the studio, but they did this big fake-ass Kickstarter where they were like, "Yeah, this is coming to the Wii U," and then it turns out, "Oh no, we can't do that because of reasons," and it was just a whole bunch of bullshit that made people very upset.
Oh yeah, I think that was, I remember now. That game was supposed to be for Wii U, but it got canceled, yeah.
So, I mean, but that game is like garbage on everything but a gaming PC. Like you can't play that game on a
Yeah,
you can't play that game. You can't play that game on a like it runs badly on a console.
that's true. But if these third parties they want to stay in business, they're gonna have to deal with consoles one way or another.
Yeah, but do they want to? I mean, like here's the thing. They have to. I mean, to a certain extent, they're going to have to do it. They're going to have games come out on PC well, to a certain extent. But I mean, they built their market on, you know, like the Sony consoles and Xbox consoles, and that's where their market is. Like, can they start optimizing their games and putting them on other platforms, or let the platforms that they're on die? I mean,
Well, that's up to them. But what I'm saying is that if PlayStation and Xbox don't change, they're going to become stagnant eventually, because because like I said, in technology, things are gradually becoming more portable. Like stationary devices are gradually on the decline. Maybe a slow decline, but it's still there.
Yeah. I think stationary devices as like straight up gaming devices is on decline.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant, especially when it comes to gaming.
You're still gonna see PC. You're still gonna see PCs, computers and personal computers and Macs. You're still gonna see that type of stuff, but it's not gonna be to the same level of how can I put this? It's not going to be to the same level of ubiquity. That's the word. It's not going to be to the same level of ubiquity.
Yeah, so, well, that's my personal theory anyway. I mean, because
I have to agree. I do think that if Sony and Microsoft are trying to compete with Nintendo when it comes to those types of things, you're not going to see that same level of like they can't do it because they don't have the practice. I mean, look at Sony and Microsoft, and just in terms of their IPs. I mean, you can't compare their IPs to Nintendo IPs.
Absolutely not.
Even though people like to say, well, blah blah blah, and Nintendo needs to do this, and this with their IPs, but at least they're doing something with their IPs. I mean, like Microsoft canceled a ton of first-party games.
That includes Scalebound, man. Scalebound. That game looked fun, man. It looked fun. That's a shame.
They canceled it. They were like, well, we don't need this. We know what happened. We know what really happened. We know that in reality, what happened is that that they probably ran out of money and they had to get this friggin' Scorpio out. So they said, you know what we're going to do, guys? We're going to take the money that was going to all these first party studios and we're going to put it into building the Scorpio, which, I mean,
and that's a problem, because if you don't invest in first party and that you have a competitor that does something very similar to you but with some first party, then you're gonna lose. I mean, Sony, look, as much as I tend to make fun of Sony, they do have some games, while Microsoft, like they gradually have less and less first party games, and outside of first party, they both share the same library. So what's the point in this?
Yeah, that's the thing that kind of makes that's what kind of makes a lot of these 8th gen consoles kind of like useless to me, because it's like, I mean, if all you're going to do is just give me, I mean, you share the same library, so what's the use of having, like, it used to be like one console would have this library, another console would have that library, and never should the twain meet, you know? And it made sense. It's like, okay, this makes sense for me to have this. This makes sense for me to have that. Now it's like, I mean, most of this library is the same across both consoles. With, I mean, at least Sony has some exclusives. But Microsoft, I mean, almost all their games, it's like, well, you can also get it on PC. So if you have a gaming PC or a decently powered PC, you're just, it's like, I don't need an Xbox One or an Xbox Scorpio.
It's like they don't even try anymore.
Well, yeah. It is. It's like they don't try at all, which is sad because, you know, like, I remember when Microsoft did have exclusives. I remember when Sony had more exclusives than they do now. And they were like quality, you know, and I mean, it's not there anymore. Like a lot of the mid-tier and lower tier publishers, and not publishers, but developers that would make those games, kind of went to PC or went out of business.
Yeah, a good example of this is Crytek. What do they do today?
I think they were bought out by Microsoft. I think. I'm not entirely sure.
Let me see. No, it's a private company. But
yeah.
Don't look. I think they're final.
No, Crytek. Yeah, Crytek filed for bankruptcy. I was thinking of the people who do Far Cry, not Far Cry. Shit. Yeah. Crow Team. I confused them with Crow Team, but yeah, they filed for bankruptcy.
No, they're still around. They're still around. They just, well, how can I say this? They just, you know, they shrunk. Like yeah, it's like they don't do much anymore. It's not, they don't do as many games as they used to back then.
I think they fired like maybe 16-17% of their I think they fired like 80% of the people working at Crytek. And I mean, they had multiple issues where they, like, people weren't getting paid. Like, people weren't getting their money. So it was like, damn, you know.
Well, that's what happens where your mentality is 60% of the game is graphics. That's what they said. They really said that.
Look at those graphics, son. Those graphics.
See, man. But that's the mentality of PC developers at heart, you know. That's how they think. More power, more graphics, more power, more graphics. It's basically like a dude who claims to have the most recent car on the market, you know. It's like, what about the experience?
It's so fast. It's like, yeah, but I mean, like, you have this incredibly fast car, but no one is actually like where you live, you can never drive it as fast as you know.
And the police is there, and the police tells you, I dare you to drive fast. I dare you, man.
Basically, yeah, they're like, well, go ahead, go ahead, do it, so we can throw your ass under the jailhouse.
And yeah, so basically, I think Nintendo have big plans for the next few years. Like, it's more than just releasing new consoles and new games. It's really, it's all about shaking things up a little, because if things keep going the way they do right now, it's gonna turn out bad for the industry as a whole. But the problem is that the industry are trying to take down Nintendo. So it's like, I don't know what to say about this. Like, it's stupid.
They want them to fail. Well, I don't think the industry wants them to fail. It's like the industry is like, look, you like it's not like we want you to fail, but we're not exactly like we don't want you to fail, but we don't really care if like we're not going to help you. Like, because I noticed like when the PS3 was just bombing spectacularly, like all these third parties supported the hell out of it. They put high quality games on it. Even third parties that weren't getting money at it were supporting it. But I mean, Nintendo, the Wii U struggled in its first year, and they just, well, fuck it, we don't need this console. And I get it. They had Sony, they had Microsoft, they had PC. They didn't need Nintendo. But here's the thing: the more like a market is not healthy if you don't have multiple outlets, right? It's like if you only have one supermarket near where you live, if that supermarket starts acting funky, you have no recourse. Like you have no real recourse unless you want to go 20, 30, 40 miles out your way to buy stuff. And then if you add in fuel costs and distance and time, it becomes inconvenient,
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you want to live someplace that has 2, 3, 4, like multiple places. So you can basically say, well, this place doesn't have grapes on sale, but this place has them for 49 cents a pound for white grapes, seedless. It's like, that's a great deal. Whereas this other place is charged $139, and you have the choice to be able to say, I don't like, you need to have you need to have different places in a market. Now, I mean, I know I've said in numerous things that Microsoft basically ruined
The balance of power.
the balance of power in gaming, but I don't even want to see Xbox. I mean, even though I'm like, well, this might be the last Microsoft console, that's not necessarily a good thing that it would be the last console. Like you need to have you need to have in the video game industry, you need to have multiple consoles. Like I was never a Sega fan, but you need to have Sega
We
in
lost
the
a lot.
industry.
Sega was a big loss to us.
Yeah, I mean that was not good. That Sega just
But the
freaking went out of
problem,
business.
it's because the problem with Sony and Microsoft is that they're not game makers at heart. Their first party cannot beat Nintendo's first party. And if the third parties were to support Nintendo completely, Nintendo would have a monopoly on the market.
Well, I won't say there would be a monopoly, but it would no longer be about power, and it would be about the games, and no one wants to talk about that. Like, because I mean, you listen, like Microsoft announces the Scorpio. The first thing out of these fans, out of Xbox, not all Xbox fans, is, well, it's going to be very powerful. That doesn't matter. It's how the power is used.
It's because Sony and Microsoft cannot beat Nintendo at GameCraft, so they use the power argument to upstage them. But that's not the way to do it. I mean, not in the long run anyway. Because now we're reaching a point where what am I saying? We already reached a point where power means jack shit. Oh, we have a new
and we're joined by the canine of Rogue Descent, who actually put a post up today talking about the whole optimization power argument.
And we were just talking about that.
Yeah, like I mean, like power. Like I keep on seeing all these fans of these consoles pop up, and they say they need more power. Shadow, you have something to say?
What do they need more power for?
Exactly. I mean, because if you have an Xbox One or PS4, no one's been using the power at all, really, for these.
And they already come out with PS4 Pro and Xbox Scorpio.
Yeah. So I mean, you're saying you need all this power, but what are you using it for? Because I mean.
So I made this post on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, and a couple of developers responded to it. Well, liked it or whatever, and left a couple comments. And basically, all I said was, I would rather prefer that Xbox Scorpio's power, in quotes, I do put it in quotes, the power that is supposed to be there or whatever to enable 4K gaming in like 25 to 30 frames per second. Instead of doing that, How about give us what you originally promised us? Well, what Sony originally promised us in the 7th generation, 1080p gaming at 60 frames per second, with no invisible walls, no fog, no artifacting, no having half the game run in 16-bit color because you can't run the shaders otherwise. Can we just get a complete game without invisible walls?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. Like, I would rather have games at solid 720p or 900p and be at 60 frames per second. I would rather have a lower resolution and them use the power instead of, hey, look how pretty this looks. I would like to have bigger. I would like to play a GTA that could have had like everyone's like, man, I love GTA 5. Has anyone noticed that they returned back to San Andreas and there's like 3 other cities that are just missing?
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty much.
Like, I would rather have San Fierro, Las Venturas, the rest of Greene County. Then oh man, look at that guy's face. You can see the pores on it.
It's like who gives a shit about putting pores on the face, man? It's like, come on.
It's more. Go ahead, man.
No, I was just gonna say I think gamers have their priorities in the wrong place.
Yeah. Before you jump to another resolution, master the one that you are currently in.
Yeah. I mean, I wish they would. I wish we could get, I mean, like I said, we have games that are barely running. We have games that can't even do 1080p, 60 frames per second.
Hey, you know what's so funny about that? By the way, this isn't an issue that's just limited to console. PC has been this way for the longest time, but PC has an excuse. It's not a closed platform. There's all those games are running on top of an OS that has nothing to do with games. So they have an excuse. So them, for the last 10 years or so, 1080p has been what most affluent gamers have been playing in for the last 10 years. And now 4K has become like more available. So I would naturally expect PC gamers to gravitate to that. But there's no reason for a console to be jumping the gun just so it doesn't look quote unquote inferior. I understand that you want the horsepower of your console to be prevalent, but that can be done in different ways. So if you're able to do things like not have invisible walls, not have frame rates in the teens in GTA 5, if you can do stuff like that to harness the power of your new hardware, then that also means that PC will have to follow suit, which means that game, when it was ported to PC, probably wouldn't be able to run in 4K. They would have to do other things to skirt around that. So for it to be the ultimate version or whatever, it may have to lower to, say, 2K resolutions or something like that. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with 1600p or whatever. So I don't understand. Graphics fidelity is at a situation where your eye relief is going to have to be pretty far away to discern the difference from a lot of this stuff. Well, I mean, you have to be pretty close to discern a lot of this stuff. So, and until people get 50-inch screens that they're using as desktop monitors, I don't really see a reason for jumping to 4K for gaming. To be honest with you, personally, you might as well just get more than one display.
Not just that, but I mean, if you're talking about having it display, run on PC in 4K, you're gonna have to spend anywhere between $300 to $500 to $600, $700 to do that upgrade. Unless you're gonna do a PC from scratch, and then you're gonna be spending over $1,000 to all the parts and components and all that stuff, cabling, all that type of jazz. And if you're talking about on the developer side, they're going to be spending like exponentially more money than what they've been spending if they're going to build a game from the ground up in 4K, which no one's doing anyway. So once again, what do you need all this extra power for?
And here's the other thing too. Like, at what point is that going to be mass market? Consoles are supposed to be mass market. So what exactly are you doing? Like the first 2 or 3 years, a lot of people were interviewed all the way up until 2007, and people were playing Xbox 360s on standard def TVs. So what do you think is happening right now with people with 4K HDR TVs and these newer consoles? The very few people that have them, there's some people out there that have these TVs. They don't even know to enable these modes. They don't know how to make these TVs compatible with these consoles. Some of these TVs aren't compatible with these consoles because they use a different version of HDMI, or they just don't have the settings available to where they're compatible with how that TV sees RGB or the CYMK color spectrum. So it's just one of those issues where the technology is evolving so fast versus the post that I just made that it's exceeding the use that a user would need it for.
Precise.
So right now, somewhere